What's up, guys? Today we're going to be trying out the most medieval dishes that Spain has to offer. This place is covered with old restaurants that have sat unchanged for hundreds of years. And there's tons of great dishes to try. One of the best ones to start with, though, is Kasa Labra for their fried bacalao. Let's go check it out. All right, so this is Kasa Labra's signature dish, which is bacalao or salted cod fried in their batter. Take a look. Now, this restaurant is from 1860, so it's not quite medieval, but they are serving this extremely medieval dish, which is salted cod. And it's actually a war ration. So if you were going on a ship, if you were doing any kind of long distance travel, any kind of survival, you would take some bacalao with you. And we actually have our own bacalao to show you what it looks like pre-fried. Check this out. So this is a piece of raw salted bacalao. It's completely covered in salt. It stays cured in salt for a period of weeks, maybe months. And they kind of perfected this system over here. And this is an incredibly important food source for the entire world because this is basically the only way to survive. Pre-refrigeration, industrial revolution, you couldn't travel with food long distance unless you did a method like this. And this is one of the dishes that came out of that time period, which is this fried bacalao. And you can see kind of the difference. You can kind of see it hiding inside there, what it looks like. Now, this piece of fish, you have to soak for 3 days before you get it into a state where you could fry it. As you can see, this is an extremely popular restaurant. There are people coming in and out of here. And because there's so many people coming in here, they're able to prepare these ahead of time. They just have to keep making them, and have like this little system. You go into this line right here, they already have the bacalao ready, fried up, ready to serve you. And if you want a drink, you can either ask the waiter or you can go to their beautiful bar and get it yourself. So we're gonna be doing a classic that everyone gets here, which is a caña, which is a tiny beer, and our beautiful fried bacalao. Let's give it a shot. Oh my God. You cannot tell that this fish has been salted to death. After that soaking period, it becomes very fresh and it kind of firms up a little bit. You can really feel the separation of the layers of the fish coming apart in your mouth, which is quite nice. One of these fish sticks runs about €2, or here's the price in dollars, and I think it's a pretty good deal. It really is a piece of history in a bite, which is amazing, especially for such a low price here in Madrid. It's what I'm talking about. That curing process firms up the fish really beautifully, and you can see how the parts kind of separate. This is a really, really flaky, really fresh tasting piece of seafood. Unlike fish and chips from, let's say, the UK, where that's a fresh piece of cod, this one has a totally different texture. Really nice. All right, we are here outside of Labola, which is a very interesting restaurant serving up an extremely medieval dish called cocido. It was adapted from an old Jewish dish and then changed to kind of suit the taste of Spanish people, which means they just added a ton of pork. This place here is basically like the Cat's Deli of Madrid. So many important people have come here. It's kind of like the go-to spot to have this dish. Extremely old school and very rustic. So let's go give it a shot and see what it's like. Bye.
Gracias.
De nada.
Gracias.
So we just sat down here at Labola and we're taking a look at the menu, but first thing, look at how gorgeous this restaurant is. You could tell it's been around for an insanely long time. It's got pictures of famous people that you've never heard of on the wall, royalty, there's drawings of artists that came to eat here, and this little detail is actually really cool. The menu has this pattern on it, and this is actually how they would do books. If you had like a really nice book back in the day, I'm talking like 200, 300, 400, 500 years ago, they do this pattern where they inlay a little puddle of water with this ink and then place the paper over it. So it's just a cool little homage to how they did books back in the day for like a decorative cover or something like that. The menu has a lot of interesting things, a lot of really old looking dishes, but today we're here for just one specific thing. This is their signature thing. It's like a soup. This is a very old, very interesting, weird dish that is gonna be a lot of fun. So here's the first course of the soup dish. They just brought out this kind of like, looking like a ancient jug, like some kind of Egyptian jug, and it's full of soup. And they also brought out this plate here, which has 3 condiments. One is just some like straight up sliced onion. These little peppers here, which are a tiny bit spicy, but not really. And a tomato, which the guy told me to save for the next dish. Look at the fat layer that gets caught on top. He just poured this. This hasn't been sitting a while. Look at this. Look at this, like, layer of fat at the top of the soup, cooling off. Let's have a taste and see what it's like. It's pretty light, even though there's like a big fat cap on top. It tastes a lot like jamon, which is that leg that you see like on the wooden plank that they carve off. They use the bones and some of the fat, like left over of that, to make these stocks, and it has a really strong punch of that flavor. Now it's time to add in the toppings that the guy said that we should. I don't know about all that onion, to be honest. Boop. Boop. I like the soup by itself. Biting into raw onion on top like of a soup is not in my kind of like culinary world. It's a little strong in onion, and it definitely makes me feel a lot more medieval. Let's see how we get along with one of these peppers. That's really nice in the soup. Totally different. It's covered in vinegar. It's like a nice pickled pepper. It just got the littlest tiny bit of spice. Nothing overwhelming, nothing crazy, but it cuts through that fatty soup really, really well. One of the things that makes this dish so unique is that it's kind of like an appetizer and a main course all in one. Since we're having this portion first with the soup, then there's something else inside that jug that we're gonna have after this. I took a sneak peek inside the bottle, and it's full of like really big chunks of fatty pork, is what it looks like. It kind of caught me off guard when the guy poured it out. It's surprising how much food fits in that little jug. And what was in there is this. This is completely packed full of garbanzos, a lot of different kinds of meat. The dish has a surprising variety of meat. So we have chicken. This looks like some kind of lamb. We got 1 little quarter of a sausage. And then these very fatty, I mean, this is like pure fat. This is like a pure fatty part of a pork belly, and a single potato. It seems like they intentionally put 1 piece of every animal in here, which is quite interesting. I like a little variety. He also served us this right here, which looks like some kind of boiled cabbage. To make sure we have good manners, it's always best to taste the food before you put any kind of sauces or condiments on it. Solid garbanzo. It tastes how it looks, like a bunch of boiled meats with garbanzos. Very medieval. Nice and plain, nothing crazy, nothing bizarre, just like a solid meal that you would want to eat after burning down a village or something. And now we can finally use the sauce. La da da da. Da 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 dee. We're gonna put this on everything. Now you just gotta chow down, just straight start chowing. Sometimes you might not recognize the piece of meat you're eating. You gotta just not worry about that and just stick it in your mouth like this. I don't know what the hell this is. This tomato sauce would make the most amazing pizza sauce in the world. The intensity of the flavor of the tomato is really, really, really high. Something like I don't usually have in tomato sauces. It's really great as a condiment over this. I don't want to say the dish is bland, but it tastes like garbanzo beans and boiled meat without the sauce. With the sauce, it really brings it together. No wonder they give you so much. I'm actually about to totally start dumping on this. That is kind of addicting. Seriously, the tomato sauce is awesome. Wow. As a side with the meat and garbanzo dish is this, which is a plate, just straight up boiled cabbage. You really can't go wrong with boiled cabbage. The cabbage is nice and light, it's tender, it's a little sweet, and it goes as a pretty good complement to this really heavy dish. I want to show you the scariest bite on the plate, which is this. Boom. Usually when you're traveling around, there's like a few couple scary bites of food on the plate. For me, it's probably this one because this is just like pure fat, just like 100%. Oh, it just goes right through it. Look at that. Not usually my favorite, but I'm trying to get better at eating more and more bizarre foods. I'm pretty good. I can eat bugs and brains and all of that, but pure fat is still a little tough for me. Let's see how it is. Oh my God. Oh. Whoa. My most hated term to describe food is melt in your mouth. That is exactly what this just did. That was so soft that you could press that against the roof of your mouth, you would just crush it. If you're not used to eating really just like pure pieces of fat, that is gonna wig you out. I kind of liked it though. I am gonna have another bite, but maybe off camera. Sparkling water was not a good choice. I wouldn't recommend it. I am stuffed. I'm stuffed, and my plate is like embarrassingly full. It's actually somehow more full than when it started. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So when you're in Spain and in lots of parts in Europe, when you get stuff to go, almost every restaurant will comply with you, but they don't take it in the back and put it in the box for you. Usually they just bring you the box and you gotta do it yourself. So if you're ever out in Europe and you get too full, like I did, this is probably what's going to happen. So don't be surprised when you have to work and put your own food in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. Bam! Look at this. It's like a medieval lunchbox. Some your wife would have packed you while you went to go get harpooned on a boat or something. I don't know what they were doing back then, but this looks like a perfect medieval lunchbox. All right, our next stop for some medieval food is this restaurant right here, Hosada de la Villa, which is a very cool restaurant because if it wasn't for the fact that they were just closed for 2 years in 1980, this right here would be the oldest restaurant in the world. This record is currently held by another restaurant that's very close to here called Sobrino de Botín. This is in the Guinness Book of World Records for oldest restaurant. This one, much older, but because of that 2-year break, unfortunately it doesn't qualify. What that does mean though is that this is a really good place to get some authentic, interesting old food. And I hear that they have a pristine oven from the year that they were founded in 1642, which is just awesome. Originally, this restaurant started as an inn, which basically meant it was kind of like a hotel where you can get everything. You can come in here and get a drink, get a bed, get a nice meal to eat, maybe a prostitute. That was pretty common back in the day, all for probably like one little gold coin. These days, it's a restaurant. Slowly over time, it got renovated and turned into a restaurant, and it's one of the best places to go if you want to eat some really old dishes. So let's go inside and give them a taste. All right, we were lucky enough to get a seat outside. It's a beautiful day in Madrid. They got the misters going, misting us every couple of seconds. But before we dig in, let's take a look at the menu. There's a lot of medieval looking dishes on this menu, but the standouts are pretty clear. One is the garlic soup with egg. This is an old dish, and it's said that everybody down to the poorest person, even to the rich, would eat this soup. Garlic was extremely abundant. You see that here today, and this soup is probably the oldest thing on the menu. Another great choice is going to be the morcilla de Burgos. This one here is a blood sausage. A lot of people in the United States have never had blood sausage because it is kind of wild. It's made of blood, and it's kind of like an unusual dish for you to have. People in England have it basically every day. I mean, it's part of their English breakfast. So you see the full English breakfast, that black puck, that is a blood sausage. Here it's done a little bit different. It's actually filled with rice and then seared on every single side that it's cut on. Really tasty, and I just can't wait to get that one. The other ones are nice and old, but they don't really stand out. This house specialty here is going to be the lamb. It's served for 2 people, but you know, people have been eating big cuts of meat roasted for like 20,000 years. So it's not the best representation of that like medieval dish. They brought out our olives here. Just like a standard thing here in Spain. Anytime you sit down, just like here's your bowl of olives. You can put the pits on the bottom plate. Let's see how they are. What's funny with the olives is for how traditional Spain is, they give you a surprisingly wide variety of olives to choose from. So it's always a nice little surprise as to which one you're gonna get. This one kind of just tastes like your classic dirty martini olive, but it does have a pit, and it's pretty nice. All right, the soup is here, and it looks amazing. I feel like a 14th century goat herder looking down at this bowl. First of all, it's in this clay pot that you could tell has just been used 1,000 times. There's little like cracks going all through the glazing, and surely it was cooked in here. You see those char marks on the actual pot itself? And just from a quick visual inspection, I'm seeing tons of garlic, basically just like chopped in half, floating all throughout this, and one egg that looks to be a poached egg. Okay, so it has pieces of bread floating in it, and this is what I'm talking about. Huge pieces of garlic. Typically, you would never do this in a modern dish today. It doesn't smell that garlicky. And it also kind of doesn't smell like any of the mixture of the ingredients that I can see, which are egg, bread, garlic, and, broth. It has something kind of unique going on. That's all well and good, but let's see how it tastes. We'll do a spoonful of just broth. Let's give the soup a try, just the broth at first, so we can kind of get an idea of what we're gonna be tasting here. Not that garlicky, surprisingly enough. With all the cloves of garlic floating around in there, it's really not that bad. The thing it tastes the most like is bread. It kind of tastes like the crust of the bread made into soup. It's very unique, kind of the mixture between a chicken soup and I want to say like a pork soup that they do around here that's pretty popular. If I had to guess, I'd say it's like a chicken-based broth, but it's not a scary, garlicky mess. Very, very light. Here's what a big chunk of bread looks like. I figured out what it is. The thing that's making it taste really unique is the bread. This is like a deep, tangy sourdough that they got floating around in here. The menu at this place overall is pretty expensive. This is one of the cheapest things on their entire menu, coming in at about €11, which is great because you're getting to taste something that you're not really gonna find in any other places. And it's a really easy dish to overlook. You're looking at this menu, you're seeing like roasted lamb and steaks and salads that are really nice. Who's gonna order the soup with garlic and egg? Only somebody that really knows what that is or has had it before is probably gonna do it, but I'm glad it's on the menu. And if we didn't go and seek out weird medieval dishes, you'd never get to taste something like this. It's very comforting, extremely nice soup, not overwhelming at all, and just a little garlicky. All right, we examined the broth and the contents of the soup, except for the egg. Now, if this thing is runny, I'm gonna give this thing a 10 out of 10. I don't think so because odds are that they probably cooked it in the soup and just boiled the hell out of it. But let's take a look. There's the egg yolk. So not soft boiled, but I did kind of expect this. Gracias. Este plato es bien popular. Yo sé que es un plato muy viejo, pero nunca lo he probado porque usualmente usted ordena algo diferente. Usted no ordena la sopa de ajo, pero muy rico.
Pero el plato es muy bueno.
Sí.
La sopa de ajo también está muy rica.
Oof. Waiter just told us that this dish is in fact extremely popular and it's one of his favorites. So there you go. And the guy's probably been working here forever. I'm just guessing because everybody here works everywhere forever. Like if you get your first job as a teenager at a bookstore, guess what? You're gonna be 80 years old in that bookstore. Nobody switches jobs here. It's insane. So I would say this egg is poached. Not exactly poached because poached, it's just brought up to this very specific temperature. I would say it's like kind of like just haphazardly thrown into a pot of boiling soup, which is exactly how you want it for a medieval dish. You don't want them doing anything fancy. You want to experience what it would be like to be dirt poor in the 1500s. And this is it, except for the egg though. Eggs were sometimes a luxury, so you wouldn't find them in every single soup just because. Just a beautiful, light, poached, delicious egg. What's there to say? Gorgeous soup, bread, broth, egg. This is basically all you need for breakfast. And by the way, this is my breakfast. I have not eaten a single thing today. So I'm really getting the full medieval experience. Bro, I just came back from the inside of this restaurant. It is insane in there. It's absolutely gorgeous. They have this gigantic oven sitting right in the middle of the restaurant. It's like encased with glass so you can sit next to the oven and the guy's just pulling out like roasted lambs and ladling oil over them. It's amazing. And not to mention they have like a modern steel kitchen right next to it, which is really, really beautiful. Really looks like a modern Michelin star kitchen next to this ancient oven that's like over 400 years old. That is wild. While I was out though, of course, like it always happens, the morcilla came. Check out how beautiful this dish is right here. In my mind, there are two kinds of blood sausages. There's ones with rice and there's ones without rice. I'm gonna be honest, I do not like the ones without rice. I think they're just a little too crazy. They're mushy. You taste a lot more blood in them. This one right here is absolutely loaded with rice. Here's the blood sausage. You can see what I'm talking about. Tons and tons of rice all going throughout it, and they've seared it. You can see some of the rice kind of crackling because they've seared off the outside. And there's just this little ring here is the casing of the sausage where it's kind of shrunk up from the cooking process. If you want to become a more adventurous eater, there's something about the rice being in the blood sausage that makes it much more manageable and familiar. I would highly recommend, if you're ever going to try blood sausage, if you're going to be brave enough to, go with this one first. I think you'll like it more. And you'll get to put something under your belt that you can impress people with and be like, hey, I'm not a picky eater, I'm an adventurous eater trying stuff from all over the world. I eat blood sausage. That's wild. All right, so let's give it a taste and I'm going to tell you my honest review. I love it. It's a classic, really good blood sausage with rice. And what they've done by searing off all of those cuts is they crispified the rice a lot. And it has a kind of opposing texture going on. There's a crunchy rice that has been seared off, and then there's like the mushy blood sausage filling. And it has this nice, subtle, gamey flavor. It doesn't taste like blood, like when your mouth is bleeding and you taste it. It doesn't taste like that at all. It's just like a really interesting, delicious, deep pate surrounded by rice, fried up in the form of a sausage. I mean, you really can't go wrong. I'm a big fan of this. I do eat this myself regularly, and I'm gonna tell you, this is one of the best examples of blood sausage I've ever had in my life. And it better be, because it's $20 for this little plate right here. I was staring at the sausage so much I forgot to deal with the onions. Let's see what these are like. Oh, they're sweet. A lot sweeter than I thought they'd be. Just a nice little sweet, salty onion to go with it. These are the sweetest fried onions I've ever had in my life. Want to know something funny about this restaurant? We weren't even supposed to go to this one. We were supposed to go to that one right there across the street. Turns out they're closed for a month, and they're like, oh yeah, we're closed, but you can just go over here. And it's the one right next door, which I think is cool. But I'm glad we did, because this is actually kind of a more important restaurant historically. I promise I can usually eat more than this, but yet again, the medieval foods have absolutely kicked my ass. I cannot eat another slice of blood sausage. These onions though, I'm a little slut for these onions. I'm not gonna lie. Oh. Go in. So pretty much everything about this restaurant is classy. Look at this receipt. When was the last time you saw a receipt this big with like the beautiful stamp upstairs, the name? Absolutely gorgeous. I kind of want to keep it and like frame it or something if this restaurant ever goes extinct. Probably won't, but how pretty. Super badass. All right, that's gonna do it for the Medieval Food Guide. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you saw something new, and consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.